Hi guys, this is Jeff from Railway City Hobbies with our fresh new inventory. What we have here today is the New Jersey Transit ALP-45DP, DP being dual power. This is released by Atlas. This one is a DCC sound unit. So we'll go over some of the interesting features about this locomotive, and we'll show some of the detail, and we'll have it on the track, and we'll show all the lighting functions. So let's get into this. So this is unpacked out of the box, saves you some time from watching this. My first criticism today on this is that Atlas did not put in the box any information on how to run the decoder. You'll see that in later. You have to go to the ESU website to figure out what functions do what. So before we go over this, I'll actually show you the detail sheet that comes with it, because there is actually optional detail you can put on this locomotive if you want to super detail it. It does come with all the parts. So in this, you'll see the instructions. It does come with a template inside the box that you mount to the front of the locomotive, and it has the pre-aligned drill holes. As you can see here, you'll have there's two drill holes here, and then you would be able to install your extra grab irons here, here, and this is if you want to super detail your locomotive. I just want to get that out of the stray first. So back to the locomotive at hand. So in the front, now I'm going to note this thing is heavy, and it has to be this way. On the scale, this weighs in at 20.2 ounces. A comparison to that is an Cato SD90 Mac, which weighs in at 21. So this is a very heavy locomotive. Now it has to be that way because prototypically you can't do a lash up. As far as I've seen, you only have a single head unit, and then you got your trailers behind, and then you have a cab car at the opposite end. So this locomotive is going to have to be heavy enough to pull multiple trailers, because it wouldn't look right with extra power units on it. So in the front here, you got ditch lights on the opposite here and here. You have your red DPU light here and here on the insides. You got your normal pilot light on the front. You got your additional wipers put on. Again, there's no grab irons on the front. You can add that on later. The 5-chime horn, which you'll hear later, is kind of comical to me, but it's prototypical. These units were produced in Germany and shipped across. These were made by Bombardier. They feature either you can run it as an electric or using the Caterpillar prime mover. But you do have grab irons on the side here. The paint scheme is to me a little plain, but I'm a Canadian, what do I know? And now we'll look at the top of the detail. You got your 2 exhaust stacks up here, your fan units, and your nicely detailed pantograph. The pantograph, I haven't exactly figured out how to get the actual pantograph to go up. It does go up. It is spring load. There is a spring right in here to raise the pantograph, and then on the back, these marker lights are not functional. These 2 lights down here are not functional. This light is functional, the rear light. KD metal knuckle couplers, and underside here, see all the truck detail and the underbody detail of this. correction from earlier. I said prime mover. This has prime movers. There's 2 Caterpillar prime movers in this. As you can see, there's a set of exhaust stacks here, and these fans are for the one prime mover, and this here is for the other prime mover, and you got your separate exhaust stacks. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to put it on the layout so we can actually hear it run. And also we'll show some of the lighting features. But before that, I'm going to pick the camera up and I'm going to go to the ESU Lockdown website so you can see the features and what functions that this locomotive has. Be right back. So this is the ESU website. This is for looking at the sound files for this. So the marker lights are controlled just by F0, like the rear DPU lights and the front ditch lights. I'll explain this a little bit better once we're actually on the layout. You got your bell, the horn, your coupler clank, and then electric mode, which we'll showcase later. The fans, ditch light. Ditch light works in a strange way that it supersedes, I guess, when it's in idle, the actual, like without this function active. If it's actually in a stationary position, the headlight dims and the ditch light dims. Once you're actually moving, the ditch lights illuminate and brighten up, and so does the front pilot light, when it going in forward, that is. When you activate this ditch light, it is only good for when you're sitting still. It'll illuminate the ditch lights up to full brightness, and once it's actually moving, the ditch lights stay the same. Switching mode, you're on off diesel mode. The air conditioning, dimmer, I don't think I'll ever use it, and the extra features, sanding valve, compressor. Your main features are going to be your electric mode, your horn, the air conditioning, your fans, and your bell. Alright, so now we're on the layout. I have to use the saddle for this, just for the sound portion of this, as there is no way of manually notching it up and down in electric or in diesel mode. So with that, I'm going to fire up the prime mover. We'll start off with the cat motors first. We'll start pretty quick on this. Now we'll start going. That's notch 5. Notch 10. Sorry, speed step 10. Same notches. 15. 20. 27. 30, 35, 40. Realistically, you hear more of the saddle than you do the prime mover at this point. So I'm just going to bring her back down. You heard the braking sound there. So now we're back at we're actually going to change over to electric. Alright, so now that she's set to go, speed step 5. Ten, 16, 20, 25, 30, 35, that's 40. Again, once it gets up to 40, you actually hear more of the wheels turning on the saddle than you do the actual prime mover. The bell. Now this is my favorite. This is the sickest sounding horn I've ever heard in my life. Doesn't that just make you want to cringe? Let's hear it one more time. That's almost like a comical noise. But it's prototypical, and I guess I can't knock it, even though it is funny. So we're back, and we're just going to go through some of the quick lighting features on this locomotive. So when you hit function 0, or your light button, the front light and the ditch light comes on. As I was explaining earlier in the video, when you hit F6, it'll make the ditch lights go brighter, but the headlight pilot light doesn't increase in luminosity until you actually give it some oomph, and then it'll actually go. But as soon as she comes back to a still point, the headlight dims back down, and then if you press F6, they will dim down as well. I'll show you on we're going to put it in reverse. Headlight turns off, ditch light turns off, and the red DP lights turn on. We're going to move back a couple inches here. We're going to stop. We're going to put put her back in forward direction. Now, if you don't press F6 to illuminate the ditch lights to be brighter, this is what happens. So right now, the headlights dim, ditch lights are dim. As soon as I go to speed step 1, both the ditch lights and the headlight get brighter. And reverse of that when it's put back to speed step 0. I'm going to disconnect the train from the back just so we can see the rear lights. Anything special, just rear lights. When you put it in reverse, the lights illuminate, but the markers don't. And then we'll go to speed step 1. So this locomotive is very nicely done. There is no gear noise. I've been a proponent of Atlas in the past, like their older runs. I used to love using Atlas locomotives because their locomotives were quiet. They were also very heavy. I have an old GP7 from 2001, and she weighs 19 ounces and pulls a stump out of the ground essentially. And then just recently I've been finding their locomotives usually have noisy gear trains and inconsistency in jumping when they're running. I'm not finding it with this locomotive. This locomotive is nice and heavy. It runs smooth. There's no gear noise that I've been finding. An example of like a ALP-45DP, a recent release. They had sounded like the crickets going around with it. The detail's nice on this locomotive. I don't know much about the ALP locomotive just because I'm in Canada and this like I'm in Ontario. The Montreal people that the AMT trains would know exactly what these sound like and about the detail, but from pictures I've seen, these look very well. And so I can't really criticize on the detail. Some customers or some people are going to be complaining that all the detail isn't installed on it, but this also isn't Rapido pricing either. That being said, it is a very high quality product. Atlas, this is a resurgent for Atlas name, and hopefully that they continue on this track and keep making quality products like this, and keep up with the Bowsers and the Rapidos of the world, as well as scale trains. Thank you for watching this review video. If you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to send me a message.